Hello world, this is Jason Usher with KCX Design, and today I'm going to share with you just a few tips on workflow and how to speed up your graphic design. Photoshop comes installed with 5 or 6 workspaces set up for painting, photo editing, 3D design, and there's even one for editing motion graphics. Personally, I like to make something a little better suited to my taste. So the first thing I would recommend when speeding up your workflow is to set up your work area to accommodate the way that you work. I grabbed the workspace set up for graphic and web and then been cleaning out the main work area. On the right side of my screen, I have 2 different toolbars. One with closed icons, which only displays the icon and will open up the actual panel when you click on it. And the other are the tools that I like to leave open, such as like the histogram, layers, and the adjustment panels. Once you reorganize what's visible, you can then go to the window menu and you can choose different tools to add, like the character and the brushes panel, and work them into your working toolbar in any way that you'd like. There's no pressure to get it all right the first time because you can always edit your preferences later. Once your main work area is set up how you like, then you can look to the toolbar. By default, your toolbar appears to the left of your screen and it displays your current workspace's preferred tools and closed icons. To make changes to your toolbar, go to the Edit menu and choose the Toolbar menu option. On the Toolbar menu, you can change the tools displayed by moving the grayed out tools to the Toolbar list. You can organize this list by nesting tools with similar functions into the same place on the toolbar. You can group these icons in any way that makes sense to you. Once you've organized the toolbar to your liking, you can then save the bar to be used on another system or to be restored if you have to reinstall Photoshop later. Once you've saved the toolbar, you will see the changes you made are in effect. Stack tools can be identified by a small arrow in the lower right hand corner of each tool icon with a nested menu. By hovering over these icons with the left mouse button held down, a drop down menu gives access to the tools stacked underneath. And now that we've set up our work area, we can choose whether to save our keyboard shortcuts, menus, and toolbars to the new workspace. Then we give our new workspace a unique name. In this case, I've chosen KCX Superior. And just like that, we have a new workspace. At some point, you'll come to realize that it's important to learn how to adopt good layer management skills in order to keep your workflow successful. If you look at this file, which is the image that I used for my personal banner on Facebook, you'll see that I didn't take any time to organize my layers. This is chaos. If I wanted to make changes on this file, I would have a hard time figuring out where to start, and organizing it now would probably be more trouble than it's worth. This is a practice retouch I did on a stock image. As you can see, I kept my layers well organized, and I can make changes relatively quickly because I have no chaos to sort through. This is an example of good layer management, and it will save you time in the long run. Another way to save a lot of time is to learn keyboard shortcuts. One of my favorite shortcuts is to resize the brush by using the bracket keys. Even when I'm using my tablet, using the bracket helps me to keep my stylus moving and my painting more organic. So it's not even always about speed. Sometimes it's just about producing a better outcome. Sometimes the default shortcut just doesn't work with your workflow. You can make custom changes by going to the Edit menu and choosing Keyboard Shortcuts. Once in the Keyboard Shortcuts menu, you can then begin to make changes. One thing that I always do is to change the behavior of Control Z from the undo command to the step backwards command. This makes that particular shortcut work the same way that it does across other digital platforms. For a list of default shortcuts, you can visit helpx.adobe.com/photoshop/using/default-keyboard-shortcuts.html. It's a lot to remember, so don't worry. I'll put the link down in the description. However, you'll find that all the program functions and the related shortcuts are here. Don't get overwhelmed though. Pick one or two functions you use a lot and reuse them until you find you aren't even thinking about what the shortcut is. Then wash, rinse, and repeat until you have learned enough of the shortcuts you need to keep your workflow moving. You will be amazed at how much faster this will make you. You can pick up a lot of speed by automating actions that are pretty standard from project to project. You can find all sorts of pre-made actions on the internet, and all you have to do is download and install the action file. Once an action is installed, you can access it from the Actions menu, which I place on my toolbar using the Windows drop-down menu. In this example, I'm using one of Photoshop's default actions to change the image's tone. Personally, I like to make my own actions, so let's make a simple one now. First, in the Actions menu, I start a new group. I start a group because this is going to be the first of many of my favorite effects that I make actions for. Once the folder is made, I use the same menu, and this time I tell Windows I want to start a new action. I give it a name describing what it does. I can assign it a function key if I want to, and then I hit record. From this point on, everything I do is going to be recorded and added into the action until I hit stop. This action is going to put a slight S-curve on an image. And then I'm going to hit stop. See, the action is now recorded and can be reused whenever I'd like. This will make those tasks that I repeat most often much more manageable, and it's going to carve a ton of time off of my projects. In the History panel, you can create snapshots to freeze your project in time. This way, if you want to experiment without losing your place in the project, you can do something completely different, and if it doesn't work, then you haven't lost anything up to the point that you take the snapshot. When making actions, most people start with a snapshot, so if the action wasn't to your liking when you apply it to another image, you can always go back and try something else. And that brings us to batch processing. You can apply an action to a whole series of images with just a few mouse clicks. First, you go to File, navigate to Automate, choose Batch, and from here you can choose an action and the files that you want to apply the change to, and go get a drink of water or coffee while the program handles the heavy lifting. Here, I'm going to apply the S-curve I just made to every image I have open. That's pretty simple, right? And that brings us to using template files. If you're going to be making images that adhere to a particular standard on a regular basis, such as a business card or social media banners, then you can make the process much simpler using an image template. Most companies provide you with a template if you're using an image with their service. In this case, I'm using a file provided by YouTube for the creation of a YouTube banner that works across platforms. It shows where the image is visible based on the screen size, and it helps you to anticipate how to render your graphic for the best end result. I use templates for almost everything, whether it's a social media banner, a brochure, or yes, even a business card. They can be a massive time saver, and you'll be glad you have it in the end. And there it is, just a few quick tips to speed up your workflow. This is not a comprehensive list, and it was never intended to be. But as you work, you'll find little areas where your progress is slowed down, and when that happens, it's a good bet that there is a method of working that'll integrate more naturally with your flow and keep you creating. It's in your best interest to find it. As usual, if you have any thoughts, requests, or comments, feel free to email me at jason@kcxdesign.com or drop a comment below. Once again, my name is Jason Usher for KCX Design, and